sports. But let's look at the roster and let's look at what the Patriots have ahead of them. They play in a division with the Bills, the Jets, and the Dolphins. None of those teams are going to be making the playoffs next year. I hate to tell you.
Well, he can play at 55 and beat those teams.
That's what I'm saying. So they're always guaranteed that playoff spot, right? So
Yeah.
what? So you have to win 2, maybe 3 more games depending on where you're at?
True.
I like those odds if I'm Tom Brady. So it's my opinion that Tom Brady is definitely coming back with the roster they have in place right now. And let's be honest, we've talked about it before. It's not like they have a bunch of household names that are just going to knock your socks off. They got a bunch of guys that can play football that really nobody knows about. But they draft well. They drafted Sony Michel last year, first round. How did that pay off for him? Beautiful. If they can have another successful draft, Brady's definitely coming back. There's no way he's not.
Here's the deal, Austin, though, and I think you agree with me on this part. Well, first of all, I want to ask you, with that reaction that he had last night, not when I've said this, was there any sense of you that said, wait a minute, that didn't sound like 0%?
Honestly.
Or did I read into it differently?
I mean, and everyone's going to read into it differently. And having never been to a Super Bowl, I mean, it's hard for me to put myself in Tom Brady's shoes, you know. But I feel like, I mean, it was a huge moment. It was the culmination of a long season, a season where people were doubting him the whole time, a season where week 2 the Jaguars kind of kicked their butts and everyone's kind of counting them out. So I think it was a culmination of just a lot of people, picking against the Patriots. So maybe he showed a little emotion. Maybe he didn't have his head completely clear.
I mean, he did say it hasn't changed anything. I want to make that clear. But it sounded to me, hedged it too, right after that. And then he got away from me. He said, it's just about my teammates. He did not want to talk about it.
No.
So I'm just reading into this stuff. And again, I'm telling you what I saw all week. Mm-hmm. I saw a guy that was a different guy than the way he's been in the previous 8. He just didn't react the same way.
But this is the guy also that was kind of the underdog the whole season, really. And then it's sad that we say that, but this is a guy this year for the first time, really, that people are picking against a lot.
I also think he played poorly in this game because he wanted it so bad. I think he wanted this one more than any, so maybe he could close out the career with a win. It's in the back of his mind. I'm telling you, I believe it. I just believe it. And I might be dead wrong. But I'm going to stay on the topic because you just brought up their roster, their draft. But there's one thing that's going to be really different. And also, one more thing about his legacy coming up right after this on ESPN 690, Action Sports Jax on the radio. Welcome back here to Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. Guess what we're talking about the Monday after the Super Bowl? Yeah, we're talking about the Super Bowl. Danny Shelton for MVP, the Magic Whiteboard says.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to check the Magic Whiteboard out. And the earlier one said, if Brady wins 7, Jordan will go sign with Golden State.
Golden State, you heard it
That was a good
first.
one.
Vegas, book it right now.
That was a really good one. I
Get
like
him while
that.
the action's hot.
All right, I got to move my computer real close so I can see the I love this new system we have, by the way, on Periscope and on Facebook and on YouTube, all these things, this live feed, you can comment right on the feed so I can share your comments.
Yep.
But they are kind of small, and my eyes are going, I guess.
Yeah, I can check them out,
Chris
too.
Poe, and a big number after that, says, how many bad calls were there in the Super Bowl? I think we just talked about it. Not, in our opinion, not many. I mean, you could argue here and there, but not a lot. Puppy Bowl was action-packed. I didn't catch that, Ken.
I didn't watch it either.
Sorry. I can't believe they still do that.
I watched it.
Kuz, what'd you think?
Oh, it was so exciting.
Yeah,
Here's the real question. Do they still have the Kitten Bowl?
The kittens joined in. They're the cheerleaders now.
Oh.
There were kangaroos,
That's a shit.
hedgehogs.
They're the cheerleaders to
kangaroos.
dogs?
What's that?
They're the cheerleaders for the dogs?
Yeah.
Well, that's going to make dog and cat people really go at it.
Hold on. What are kangaroos?
Kangaroos were the halftime show.
Like Joey's, or are we talking like full-grown kangaroos?
No, they were tiny.
All right, Joey's is what you call baby kangaroos, by the
That's
way.
right. You been to Australia?
I have not been to Australia, no. I mean, not even close.
Sounds
Brent.
like you have.
Not even close.
Chris also says MVP should have been a defensive player. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I want to stay on Tom Brady right now for a bit. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Justin Kuzar. The Kuz, man, we're all back together here in the studio. You know, I said this last week, but it's worth repeating. 15 shows in the books, 8 of them on the road, 7 of them in the studio. I missed the friendly confines, and we have some new stuff in here. You brought in a helmet. You brought in your snowboard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can I get on that thing during a break?
What's that, the snowboard?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have any bindings, but we can do something in the parking lot. We can make it work. But I have to say, though, so Kuz's girl works at Sawgrass.
Yeah.
And Kuz brought us in a bunch of, free swag from Sawgrass.
The Players'
Swag,
Championship,
stuff we
TPC
all
Sawgrass.
get. And anyways.
And big news coming out of this. Are you about to make it happen?
I'm about to make it happen. I'm not sure exactly how to do it here because I've never done this before. But, Kuz, you showed this peace offering of the Sawgrass merch. I mean, we got 3 T-shirts, dry fit. Going to fit me great. You come in here, you show this offering to me, this peace offering. Kuz, you're unblocked off Twitter.
Oh, this makes my job so much easier.
And
Once I figure out how to do it.
And Kuz, let me know, you have not seen the Spider-Man yet, though.
Not yet, no.
And this is what got you in trouble.
Yes.
But that's okay, because free stuff is free stuff.
Free stuff is free stuff. I don't know how to get you back, man. I'm sorry. I'll figure it out later. I mean,
It's over.
The suspense is...
Hey, listen, we've
privacy and
figured a lot
safety,
out
maybe?
technically over these last few weeks. We'll figure that out.
Yeah. If someone wants to tweet, like, how do you unblock somebody, I appreciate it. He's the first guy I ever blocked, so I don't know how that works.
You know, I've never
I'm honored.
blocked someone either.
Yeah.
I've never blocked anybody on Twitter. There's a lot of people who love blocking people, man.
Oh, I know.
I love
the
it.
haters hate.
I'm going to share this story later on about this tweet that I had, and I got a lot of reaction on it. So I'll get to that a little bit later, and it kind of lends to that topic. But by the way, Kuz did a great job last week while we were on the road getting all the stuff. We had a blast at Super Bowl week and Radio Row, and I have not said this yet, 45 minutes in the show, but I think Atlanta did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Really good job. Nice job by Atlanta. The ATL was hopping. It was the busiest Super Bowl I've ever seen. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I've never seen so many people at a Super Bowl congregate in at least the same place. Maybe because the other ones were spread out. But this one, I thought they did a heck of a job. So nice job, Atlanta. They should get rave reviews, in my opinion. Everybody will have their complaints because people love to complain. But I thought they did a fantastic job. And hopefully most of the people feel the same way. So the game might have been boring. They can't control that part. Everything else from the stadium to the security to the hosts to the volunteers and to the setup, I thought was really well done. I've been to 8 of these now. I think it was my favorite one.
I mean, I think it goes without saying, too, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention just the staff that was working security there. I mean, they were all top-notch, super friendly people. I'm not sure if every Super Bowl is like that. I've only been to this first one here where I've actually worked at it. And the entire staff, whether it was the people working with the food, security, I mean, they were all really friendly, truly have that Southern hospitality. So props to them as well.
Yeah, and I got to tweet out a picture because I took a picture with my man Glenn, who works security here in Jacksonville. So there's some Jacksonville contingent
Yeah, I talked to him as well. Yep.
So you see those folks. Yeah, he said he saw you, actually,
Yep.
when I saw him yesterday on the field. I'll tweet that picture out. Glenn's a good dude, and so many of the security folks are that we run into at TIAA Bank Field, and also got a chance to work the Super Bowl. Okay, I got to get back to the Brady stuff. So here's the deal. If you just joined us, I believe that Brady is going to retire. I'm not breaking a news story here. I just believe it. We have opinions. I know he said 0%. He said nothing has changed, but I think he kind of hedged that in that answer to Tracy Wolfson. And I'm just telling you, my gut says he's going to call it quits. I don't think this guy's playing until 45. I mean, I will tell you that for sure. I just don't see it happening. And I think to go out on top with 6, from a legacy standpoint, you bring up an interesting point. Mm-hmm. How competitive is this guy? Well, he's ultra competitive. Mm-hmm. But to me, Austin, first of all, he's never going to catch Bill Russell. Bill Russell had 11.
True.
And Bill Russell's great. And Bill Russell's not like Robert Ory, who won 6 and is just an okay player.
No,
I mean,
exactly.
Bill Russell's legendary, and he won 11. Nobody's catching that. So you can bring up Jordan and you can bring up Kobe, fair enough, but that's a modern era thing, I understand, compared to Russell, who was a little bit yesteryear, not totally yesteryear, but a little bit. Nobody's breaking 11. So you're not catching that. Yeah. And he already is the best player, best quarterback in football, maybe up there arguably as the best player to ever play football. You could start making the arguments. He is Ted Williams, Babe Ruth. He's name a guy. He's Michael Jordan. He's in that class. He doesn't have to do anything else. In fact, he didn't have to win this Super Bowl to be in that class. So he really can't go up the elevator anymore, in my opinion. He just can't. There's nowhere to go. He can get 7 if he wants. We're just adding numbers. He can't go up the elevator. He's already there. He's on the top floor. He lives in the penthouse of sports, of athletes. You can't get any higher than Tom Brady is. You just can't. And so he is a guy that they will talk about 200 years from now. People will talk about Tom Brady.
Of course.
So from a legacy standpoint, there's nothing to do. All right, here's the other reason. He won't win again. The Patriots are done winning. Okay? They're done. And this was the last one. That's my other gut opinion.
Okay.
And I want to take you through the last 2 weeks.
Give it to me.
D. Ford is the reason Kansas City lost that game. Right?
More or less.
I mean, you could blame it on a play.
Yeah,
They win the game if D Ford's not offsides.
That is correct.
And I'm not blaming D. This isn't about D Ford.
Yep.
They won the game because of Rob Gronkowski. They put Rob Gronkowski out, and they threw a ball up to him, and he caught it. Mm-hmm. They put Rob Gronkowski now in the famous Tony Romo call, and he predicted if the safety slides up, runs the slant, bam, hit Rob Gronkowski. How did they change the game yesterday? They start that drive with a little wheel route to Rob Gronkowski. They throw a dime down the seam. Rob Gronkowski makes a great catch. We'll talk about the MVP stuff later. But what I'm saying is he's going to lose Rob Gronkowski. And he is the guy. He makes the plays. I just showed you he won this postseason because of Rob Gronkowski. Nobody else was making that play for him. Gronkowski separates himself amongst everybody else because he's such a tough matchup. And it proved itself the last 2 weeks, even though Gronkowski is slower and older. Without Rob Gronkowski, Tom Brady will not be the same. The Patriots will not be the same. And then you add age and all the other factors into it. This is it for the Patriots. Patriots are done. I think Brady senses that. He's out.
So I guess we can both agree that Rob Gronkowski is going to be done, I think, after this year, right?
I think if we did a poll, I think 98% of the people would say that.
And he hasn't announced retirement either, but this is a guy that looks like it's kind of hurting him when he runs fast.
It looks like it hurts when he sits down.
Yeah. So, I mean, we don't know about Gronkowski yet. I do agree Gronkowski is a very pivotal role in that offense, whether or not he's playing good or not, because we talked about it before. You have to game plan for Rob Gronkowski. Doesn't matter if he's going to catch 10 balls a game or 2 balls a game. You got to game plan for him, and that's what teams had to do. So that's a huge asset. Don't get me wrong. But you remember when Josh Gordon came in, and everyone's like, well, Josh Gordon's going to be kind of that one receiver that the Patriots have always needed. You got Josh Gordon, Julian Edelman. No one's going to stop him. Josh Gordon did all right, but he ended up, obviously ran into some problems, and that was that. So then Brady had to rely on Edelman again. I think Edelman's honestly the unsung hero, and I get you say that Gronkowski should be MVP. Maybe, but at the end of the day, Edelman had better numbers, and this isn't a feel-good award. This is the most valuable player of the game.
But we're going to debate that in the next segment.
Okay, we'll bring it on then. Anyways, but I think when we were talking with
hot
Edelman,
takes the entire show today.
Yeah. But when we were talking to Edelman, and I don't know if I want to say this or not, but he was a security blanket the whole season. It wasn't Gronk. Gronk was hurt and whatnot, and I get it. I said it before. They game planned for Gronk. But Edelman was really that cog that made that offense run.
Absolutely.
Now, you start sprinkling some James White every once in a while, and you're going to have success. But now with the emergence of Sony Michel, being able to run the ball, get you 100 yards a game, set up the play action off the run, why wouldn't Brady come back to that, even if Gronk is leaving? Because guess what? I watched that game last night. It wasn't like Gronk was chipping, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't really run blocking that much. It wasn't like he's like this all-stud blocker when it comes to the run game. So they're not really going to miss him there.
But he changes the way you defend him.
He changes the way
the Patriots.
Yeah, no, he changes the way you defend him. But if you watched the game last night, it wasn't like Gronk was doing anything crazy in the pass game either. All he did was literally he stayed in with James White, he tripped, and then he basically got out to the flats. And that's something I'll break down too later today, is the fact that they actually used Gronk and White more as blockers in the passing game than they actually did in receiving.
But if you were in a meeting room with the LA Rams all the last 2 weeks, what guy are you saying, okay, we gotta do this and that to this guy? Edelman or Gronk?
So I'm actually going to go with Edelman for this reason. You can do a lot more things with Edelman.
Should have.
No, but here's the thing with Edelman, though. You can put him in the slot. You can put him wide at the 1. You can put him in the 2. Edelman can do a lot of things that Gronk can't do. You know what Gronk's going to give you. I mean, granted, you can put Gronk out wide, put him one-on-one on a safety. I like those chances, don't get me wrong. And you can put Gronk on the line and then, let him run like a flag or whatever. But as far as a game plan purpose, I would go for Edelman because he can do a lot more than Gronk can.
All right, that's interesting. One other thing about it, too, is Dante Scarnecchia is sticking around, the offensive line coach, and it looks like McDaniels will be around. That might bring him back for another year. At least McDaniels is around. That relative. We'll talk more about it on the other side. More about Brady, but also the MVP. It's time for an MVP debate.
Let's do it.
Brady didn't win that. More to come. Yeah. Action Sports Jacks on the radio on ESPN 690. Oh, we're all sorts of fired up on a Monday following Super Bowl 53. I think there are a lot of topics coming off this game, and we're going to continue to get to them. By the way, you talked about a bet that you guys had during the party, and I want to get to the party a little bit. You got to tell us what that was all about, but I'll tell you about a bet my buddy made and show you some of the ones he won and missed. You got to love the